Yeah, and he just mentioned to me this morning,
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention,
I'm gonna timeshare, it's been weighing on me, wondering if my test, I don't know what we're gonna have to do. I'm like,
Okay.
so he just signed up for a timeshare in July,
Or you can use
the beginning of July, and he can't cancel it anymore.
Oh, and it's killing his credit.
Okay, you got it.
Wait,
Well-
hold on. That was not, what?
What, Robert?
He signed it in July?
Yeah, but we got him pre-approved like last week.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm excited. I'm going to be giving you a class today, but it's going to be more of a back and forth. I want to discuss with you about different ways for creative financing so we can get our offers accepted or find solutions for our buyers or sellers, right? Depending on who we're representing, who we want to bring the best value to, okay? The way the class is going to be given by myself, Carol, and my friend Donato with Monarch Title, okay? So the first thing I want to do is to try to make it as simple as possible. I don't want us to overcomplicate ourselves. And anytime you have a question or there's something that we do not understand, please feel free to reach out, raise your hand, okay? And we are going to be talking about what are the buyer's biggest concerns when buying a house. Do you guys know what are the biggest concerns? When somebody approaches you, what are they afraid of when talking to a lender or purchasing?
Yes, we would.
What are those? Qualifying, okay. What else?
Interest rate,
Interest rate, what else?
down payment.
Right? So the money part, right?
The money.
Down payment,
Oh, yeah.
closing costs, interest rates.
You got it.
How much is it gonna cost me? Do I have enough money? Can I make it happen? Okay? So then the biggest concerns are down payment, closing costs, and a monthly payment, aka the interest rate. When it comes to the down payment, unless we're doing down payment assistance, which I'll talk about in a second, there's not much help we can do because the borrower has to come up with their down payment, either through a gift from a family member or relative, or they have to pay for it. But there's certain things that we can do in the closing costs and the monthly payment to maybe make it happen, right? Because sometimes there's little tweaks that we can do on their file or maybe get some credit so we can see if there's a possibility of getting them into escrow, which I don't want us to turn down somebody just because of that, because not enough money for closing costs. So let's see. How can we increase your buyer's affordability? Sorry, that's my bad. How can we increase your buyer's affordability to purchase a house? First one, with helping closing costs. Second one, with the interest rates being a little bit higher than last year, lowering the interest rate to increase purchase power and lower their monthly payment, right? Because they're always going to be scared. How high is my payment going to be? How high is my rate going to be? Do I have to come up with that much money? And these two things we can tackle depending on the type of loan that we're doing. So let's talk about closing costs. Do you guys know what are closing costs? Really what they are?
Lender fees and escrow, title fees.
Right, so it's all the other fees that the buyer or the borrower is responsible to come up with beyond their down payment, right? So that could be escrow, that could be title, that could be property taxes, that could be insurance, okay? Anything beyond their down payment. Now, when it comes to an FHA loan, which I think most of the buyers here in the Antelope Valley are FHA buyers, right? First-time home buyers. There's a lot of leeway for us, the lenders. So I'm gonna share with you now a couple tricks that we can do to make it happen. The example I wanna do it with, it's with a purchase price of $500,000. Let's say our buyer has 700 FICO score, and let's say they're putting 3.5% down, right? The usual. The closing cost on this house is gonna be around $11,000 to $12,000. Let's take a look at the rates. Do you see that green highlight right there? That means this buyer, this FHA buyer, will be getting a 4% interest rate. And it says 0 right next to it because it's at no cost to the client. Okay? So that means the interest rate they're getting is a 4%. Now what happens if this buyer has enough for down payment, but maybe they don't have enough for closing costs? I can provide them with lender credit, right? Depending on the FICO score they have. So for example, let's say we go to an interest rate of 4.5, they'll be getting a lender credit from me of $5,500. Now keep in mind, this depends on the day and the time we lock the interest rate, right? These are the rates from yesterday. they have not been changing too much. But a 4% interest rate on an FHA, it's not bad. It's not high. That's what they were 2-3 years ago, right? And if they need some help with closing costs, we can easily provide them lender credit. So there's a lot of leeway when it comes to FHA. I can even give them the full closing costs, $10,800, at a rate of 5.25. So then they don't have to come up with closing costs. Or let's say they have 5, go ahead.
When you say, on that green bar, when you say zero out of their pocket, you're not talking about closing costs, you're talking about points, right?
Right, they don't have to pay any points for this rate. There's no origination charges. Okay, so that they're getting this rate free and clear without paying for it or buying it down
At 4%.
at 4%.
Gotcha.
Let's say this client qualifies at $500,000. And let's say the house they want is $520,000. Okay, and maybe if we decrease the interest rate a little bit, maybe we can get them to $520,000 if we decrease the rate to 3.875. So let's look at the top section now, right? So if you look at 3.875 all the way on top, how much is that going to cost? That's going to cost $2,159. Okay, now let's say we can get some seller credit of $2,100. That means the seller can pay for the client's point to lower down the rate so they can qualify at $520, as an example. Now, what does this mean? This means that we can get an offer accepted, right, depending on what's going on, because when we first talk to a client, of course, they first talk to you most of the times, and then they talk to us, to the lenders, and we get to know them inside out. All their financials, all their struggles, all of they need to qualify, okay? If we know they're a little bit short, we can either do lender credit or ask for a little bit of closing costs, or we can reduce the interest rate to help them qualify for more. And sometimes it's not even that expensive. And depending on the seller, this is where your expertise comes into play. If we know the seller is able to give a little bit of seller credit, better than maybe lowering the purchase price, right? The selling offer, but maybe better than lowering the price of the house, it'll be cheaper for him to pay a little bit of seller credit so we can decrease the interest rate and make that buyer qualify for more. Does this make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. Is this what we expected when it came to the rates for FHAs? How much were we expecting them to
Why did I not know
be?
this before?
5%?
Go ahead.
And also, if a seller pays a point or two, or any money's paid toward those closing costs, I think that's a write-off for them as well.
That's a
Tax,
question
right?
to the accountant.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Because they're netting less money, and I think Frank can answer this one for me, right?
So, Karen and myself sat down, looked at some things here, and I want to piggyback a little bit what she said, because the program here, you're the first to really know what's going on there. I'll tell you, 95% of the loan officers in this valley, I polled them this last week. I says, Carol, we got to sit down and do something. One of the first things is that regarding marketing is what we're seeing today has never happened. I've been in this business over 30 years. I don't think there's anybody in this valley been the business here in the valley over 30 years. And we never had this opportunity, because every time we got into the rates were high, it was 3 foreclosure markets. Today, there is no foreclosure market. Today they have, by the way, in the Antelope Valley, 75% of the people in the valley have equity between $150,000 and $200,000.
Right.
Now, they didn't earn that. That was part of the appreciation that we're fortunate to have in the Antelope Valley. What's happening is I polled some of the top producers in the valley, and I said, why aren't you talking to your sellers? They say that the buyer should make these offers that would help them get the seller to approve it, because there's no pattern. The problem today is we have no pattern of the new 2022. She's presenting these figures to you. I mean, I got people telling me, and the worst thing you could do right now is drop the price. If you got an appraised value of $500,000, why would you drop it to $475,000? You come to Carol, she'll work out the numbers with you. With the buyer, for $20,000, we just saved the seller another $5,000, and he can put this person in the property. It's a done deal.
Right.
It's a done deal. And today, we've heard the announcement, rates are starting to soften a little bit, and agents here with the buyer's agents of KW, if they're aggressive right now and really get on the ball and start making your offers, sit down with Carol and say, where I need to be to make this offer, you're gonna get them accepted, I'm telling you right now. Because the seller, and here's the thing, we drop it to 475, the seller drops it to 475, the buyer's still gonna ask for closing costs.
Right.
That's just a creature of habit. So write-offs and stuff like that, what Janet just asked about, everything is based upon the net to the seller. So, by contributing to the buyer, it is definitely a benefit for them not to have to pay taxes on above level. But the key here is that she has something. And by the way, these sheets here, you guys should be carrying these in your folders. These are outrageous because you can sit down with your buyer and your seller and show them where they could, if they have the FICO scores of 700, this and that, they're going to be able to get up to some cases up to 6%. 6% on $500,000. That's 30 grand to be playing with somewhere in that network. Maybe the seller doesn't want to give up 30 grand. Maybe he wants to give up 15 grand. But that's what we need to start changing our mindset. Not the same old thing we used to do. And you have the tools here to work with Carol on doing this. And I polled some of the, like I said, some of the top agents in the Valley and said, this is crazy. I mean, we got great inventory, we got great product. Another thing that the resale market has, you've never had this before, the builders can't build for under 600,000. Do you know that? They're my friends, I poll them every week. They cannot build a house now in the Antelope Valley for under 600 grand.
What is that?
Government, all the government. The government keeps on putting, in your resale homes, they don't have solar, most of them. They don't have sprinklers in there. They don't have the gas windows that are required that cost $1,500 a piece. All these things on new homes are put in that are mandated by state of California government, and so your resales are running right now about 100,000 plus less than a new construction. So you have an advantage as real estate agents. The thing is we have to change how we used to do things because we all agree last 3 years things just fell in our lap. People are paying $25,000, $30,000 overpriced. Well, they don't have to pay that now because you got Carol here that's going to work with you on the loans with the $25,000 that appreciated their house for not doing anything. Their house appreciated the $500,000 from $475 because of these crazy offers that went in. But you keep on dropping the prices, it drops down the comps in the area, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep those comps as high as we possibly can. And that's how I can move these sellers. Another thing too, right now is a critical time. August, September, October are going to be our best next 3 months. When the pumpkin man comes out, the month from there, the turkey guy comes out, and then the day after that, Santa Claus comes out. And what does everybody say? I'll wait till after the first of the year.
Yeah.
Why should we do that? I mean, with all this inventory we have right now, and with Carol's programs, I mean, it's a no-brainer. We all know there's a lot of people that want to move. They want to move like right now, but they haven't been consulted or coached that we have to do this. And it's not going to really cost them anything.
And also, I think the media is playing a very scary type of, because a lot of people that I talk to firsthand, they tell me we're scared. The rates are 6%, 7%, and I'm like, not really. Not really. They're not 6, 7% on the FHAs yet, right? So I think there is more to be done when it comes to understanding our clients, talking to your lender, if it's not me, somebody else, talking to them, really understanding the financials of that client. If they have $15,000, $17,000, they have enough for a down payment. So why can we not work on the closing costs, right? Why can we not make it happen? Let's do teamwork on these transactions, and I'm happy to work on all of your clients and help them out so we can make it happen. That way, you have another offer, and we're still keeping the selling price what it should be instead of dropping it. Now, you might ask me, what about down payment assistance? Right? Carol, why all of this? Why not just do a down payment assistance? Guess what? The rates on the down payment assistance, first of all, they're not giving you full help. That's not applicable right now. Okay? On the regular CalHAFAs. the help that they're given on the 2% zero interest program, the rate on their loan is going to be 6.5. On a 6.5 interest rate, I mean, I don't think the rates even got to 6.5, but on 5.5, I'm covering more than closing costs. I'm covering $11,000. So why will I go and scare the client and give them a 6.5 interest rate? The client is going to freak out when they see their monthly payment. Because the difference between a regular FHA and the down payment assistance is going to be $760 on the monthly payment.
Wow.
The debt to income ratio is going to be way up high. They're not going to be able to qualify with this monthly payment. And also they're going to get scared, right? We don't want that happening. We want them to feel comfortable, to feel confident about their monthly payment. And this is only principal and interest, okay? This doesn't include taxes, insurance, because that doesn't change. Just talking interest rate, from an interest rate point of view. And in this type of Calhafa program, they're still gonna have to come up with some money. So it's not all included. So on the FHAs right now, there's so much leeway from the lenders to the client that I think it's a shame not to use it. Because it's still, the affordability on them, it's way higher. And the rates have not spiked as high as the down payment assistance.
Explain to me about VA.
On VA, it's even better than FHAs. On VAs, I've been locking people at 4.25, 3.875. It's even better than the FHAs. So there's no reason to go for a down payment assistance on the VA as well. They're going with 0 down. So same thing, I can increase the rate a little bit, cover all of their closing costs on the VA, right? And then not have to do a down payment assistance. The rate's too high. It's gonna scare the client off. Now go ahead.
On the down payment assistance programs, my understanding is that there's 350 different type of programs in the state of California. Are they deferred? I heard that some of them are 10 years deferred.
This is a Calhafa program as well, okay? So Calhafas are, I think, the most healthy down payment assistance programs. They're the ones that we give out the most because of the way they are. And there is this new loan they came out with this year. It's called the Equity Builder. This Equity Builder program gives you 10% down payment as a second loan, okay? That gets forgiven after 5 years of living in the property. It's a beautiful program. Anybody who can qualify for it, I think it's great.
It's FHA?
It's FHA. It's like you can go FHA and conventional. With Calhafas, you can go FHA and conventional. But it does have an income limit of $78,000 in LA County. So not everybody qualifies for those. So it's on a case-by-case scenario, okay? But it's a beautiful program.
Maximum 78,000?
In LA County,
Yeah.
As an individual or a family?
individual. Okay, so
Is that even a workable situation in LA County?
I haven't been able to do one this year.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense.
Because if they qualify for very low. And then there's no home, and then they have to go to Kern County. In Kern County, the income limit is even lower.
Right.
They probably have to sell a Tesla because everybody went out there and bought a new Tesla. You know, and I hear that about the lenders are telling me, you know, the problem we have is we have people make $150,000, $175,000. When we do the numbers, they can't qualify because they got all these new cars and toys.
Yeah.
100%. So that's why the Home Equity Builder program, you have not seen it much in the pre-approval letters because it's a little bit hard to qualify for those. And if you can qualify, how much? Is it enough to buy something here in Palmdale or Lancaster? Maybe not, right? So I'm waiting to do one because I'm really excited for that program. It's a good one if you can qualify. Now let's talk about conventional. So we're talking about,
Real quick on that program, what's the maximum house you can even get?
it has a maximum debt to income ratio, okay, and a maximum income limit.
Right, so 78,000 if you go off the affordability index, is that like 250 to 300?
So depends on their debt, right? Because maybe the client has it's a case-by-case scenario, I cannot just say. But the debt to income ratio has to be maximum 43%, 45%. So that means 43 to 45% of their monthly income, right? So, but it depends on every single client. It has a FICO score, guidelines, so all that stuff. I can do a class about that if you guys want to know more about home equity builders.
Yeah.
But they're interesting, they're good to know about them. I'll maybe set up something.
But it was 95% of the
Won't
homes,
qualify.
not even the Antelope Valley. You probably have to go to Cal City somewhere.
And then Cal City, it's a different county, so the income limit is even lower.
Oh, did you guys hear that? So that ratio that she gave you was only for LA County. So I threw out Cal City qualifying. She says the ratio is even lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changes per county, so depending on what county they're buying, it changes the income limit. I think per county, don't quote me, I need to check, I think it's 58,000, so it's very low. Yeah. So why, I don't know, anyways. FHA is a lot of leeway from lenders, right? But what happens with a conventional loan? Okay? Same example, but now we're giving 5% down payment on a conventional. What happens? Let's look at the rates. Not as much leeway. Because on the FHA, I was able to give you a 4% interest rate without charging you any origination fee. On a conventional, it's 4.9. 4.9 interest rate on the conventionals. So that means if I want to give you lender credit, even if I go to 5.5, I'm only giving you 4,600, which might increase, well, it will increase the debt to income ratio for the client and decrease their affordability. So here, there's not a lot of leeway for the lenders to give lender credit. Okay? But let's look at the top half corner. Let's decrease that rate. Let's make the client qualified. At a 4.625 interest rate, which sounds a lot more attractive than 4.9, almost 5%, it's only costing you $3,300. So why can't we maybe, right, instead of reducing the price of the house because nobody's buying, give a little bit of seller credit to reduce that rate and maybe have the client qualify with a lower interest rate, with a lower monthly payment. Or ask for a little bit of closing costs where we cover a little bit of that and the seller can cover the other part of the closing cost. Does this make sense a little bit on the conventionals? Okay, so here, not as much leeway as that. FHA's interest rates right now are fantastic. Low, I can give a lot of lender credit. On conventionals, a little bit harder. The rates are way higher, which increases the debt to income ratio, decreases the affordability of the client. So yes, on conventionals, with the rates being as high as they are, the purchase power goes down on our clients, and in some cases, we can ask for sellers to help with the closing costs. Now, what is the max seller credit you can get to your buyers? It depends what type of loan. If we're doing a conventional loan, if we're doing a, let's say, down payment between 5 to 10% down, lower than 10%, maximum 3%. So you can give a seller credit of a max of 3% of the purchase price. Okay? So that means $15,000 on the 500 example, right? Towards closing costs. That can be applied to reduce the rate, to buy down the point, for anything in closing costs, right? If we're giving, let's say, 10% to 25% down, up to 6% in seller credit, that's a lot. That's $30,000. I'm not saying you're gonna give $30,000, but you could go that high if the seller wanted to, right? We're giving more than 25% down, can go up to 9% in seller credit. And a lot of realtors do not know, okay? Now you might ask me, Carol, what if I give the client so much seller credit and they don't need all of it? Do they keep the money? No, it goes to the seller. They cannot pay for the client's down payment. Nobody can pay for the client's down payment. And the client doesn't keep it, it goes back to the seller. I'm just saying this because I do not know if everybody will know that.
Can I ask you a question? When it comes to like condos and townhouses where you have to take, you know, owner occupied versus rental ratios into consideration, are all loans equal when it comes to looking at that? Or is there leeway with one loan program like FHA over conventional over VA?
I don't know if I understood your question correctly, but let's say you're buying a condo and the condo is not approved FHA, then you have to go conventional.
Okay.
Does that answer? Maybe some
Yeah,
condos.
that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah, some condos are not approved VA either, so then you have to go conventional. Like I have clients who are buying condos right now and they have to go conventional because the condo is not approved by HUD.
There's only one out here.
There's
only one condo complex out here approved by FHA.
Right, so what were you gonna say?
No,
something?
nothing.
Oh, okay.
I was agreeing with
And
him.
then also, the seller concession depends if we're buying a primary home or an investment. If we're buying an investment, no matter the down payment, you can only give 2%, right? And then also the rates will change if we're talking about an investment loan compared to, my examples were primary residence. Investments, of course, they're not gonna be FHA loans for investments because those are for primary residences only. And on conventionals, with the rates being at 4.9 on a primary, on investments, they're way higher, but we can take a look at those. if you guys want. I can send you like a little rate sheet so you can see what they are.
You can buy down the rate on it.
You can buy down the rate. You can buy down the rate, you can ask for seller concessions, all that stuff, but on investments, max of 2%.
Could you use that 2% to buy down the rate?
Sorry?
Could you use that 2% to buy down the
For
rate?
anything, you can use it to buy down the rate, you can use it to pay off your mortgage insurance. Let's say they qualify without the mortgage, let's say they're putting 15% down, and they have like a little bit of mortgage insurance, we can pay it off. Doesn't have to be monthly, it can be a single premium. The seller can pay for it.
Cool.
Right? So there's a lot of things that we could do. We can buy down the rate, we can pay off mortgage insurance, we can pay for the client's property taxes, escrow fees, whatever fees. The only thing they cannot pay for is for the client's debt. Let's say we're paying down a vehicle to qualify.
For Tesla.
Or a Tesla. Let's say we're paying off a Tesla to qualify. The seller cannot pay for it. I'm sorry. That's the only thing. Now on the FHAs, you can go up to 6% of the sale price. Okay? On the FHA, seller can give 6% of the sale price of the house. As well.
They can use it for, and also they can use it for both closing costs and buy down the rate too, is that correct? They can split it up?
So even here, 6% of the sales price towards closing costs. Prepaid expenses. Prepaids are your taxes and insurance. Discount points, that is to buy down the rate. And other financing concessions, so everything else. 6%.
You know, 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't even do this.
No.
You couldn't get this kind of money. I mean, it's fantastic. How many listings are in Gavon right now, roughly?
Oh, 1,000.
1,000. Let me ask you a question. The way it's going, in all fairness, if we had 2,000 listings, do you think people would have to dramatically drop prices to try to sell the property?
Yeah.
Because of competition, right? So we can kind of, you know,
Or-
head the horde, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Or they're going to have to help the buyer buy down the rate.
Exactly.
If they don't necessarily want to
But they
lower
might have to do
it.
both, because if there's 2,000 properties, you know, this is the scary thing. You know, lenders, when it comes to appraisals, based upon the last 3 or 4 sales in the area, we want to try to head that off and go ahead and do what you said, is help the buyers out now. So,
Because appraisals from like a month or two just don't apply really anymore. Like, because the market is just completely different.
Luckily, I haven't had one coming lower just yet this year, but I mean, you never know when that might start happening, right? With the prices going down, but I mean, if we can do maybe like a combination of like buying down the rate to maybe not lowering the price too much, finding that middle ground where the seller can make more money instead of lowering down his price, and the buyer can be happier with his monthly payment. You know, there's things to do. It doesn't have to be all black and white. We can find solutions.
I worked with an agent in Santa Cruz Valley about a week and a half ago. This is when this idea came up, and I talked to Carol. The seller had been in a house for 25 years. You know, bought it low 200,000. It's worth 600,000. And the agent went to them, and they actually advertised at 4%. Seller will pay down the 4% on the note. Had 15 offers.
Yeah.
Even on the MLS, I
He
see
said,
the same
because the seller
comments.
looked at it basically, that, yeah, I've been in this house, they gave me this equity for free, so why don't I just put it back in the buyer and I can do what I want to do? So that's something I thought was pretty interesting, but we got a ton of offers on that 4%.
I think too, people need to remember that we're still at historically low interest rates.
That was, yeah.
You know, I mean, people still need to get that we're still very, very low compared to what we were like back in, you know, probably the 90s and the 80s, where it was
Oh,
like
absolutely.
19%.
The 2% were, they never existed before.
Right.
Do you know how many people that went broke in Wall Street if they would have bet we'd have seen 3% interest rates?
But to be honest with you, it's not bad, because look at the 3.8, it's only gonna cost $2,000, $2,100.
I think the biggest problem is in my career, we've never seen this where people were getting 25 to 70,000 over list price. That's what I think really shocked this industry. You know, people still think that way. You know, I'm going to get multiple offers, but you're 100% correct on that, Scott. You know, rates are good. I mean, anywhere around 5% or less. I mean, it's a good interest rate. And I'll also go back, say, 20, 30 years ago. My first house was 8%, 9%, whatever. You know, but the houses were cheaper too. Today, they're, you know, our median price home, by the way, in the Antelope Valley, median Antelope Valley, is $500,000 now.
With my friend right now, he was sitting here, he bought a house like 15 years ago in San Diego, and it was 9%. The interest rate, that was the normal, right?
Was it about 2000, 2001? when the rates were about.
I don't remember, but it was before the recession, yes, it was around 9%. So 2% historically, we had never seen it before, that was the first time, and that was abnormal. Getting 20, 15 offers on a house on the first 3 days, that was abnormal.
For sure.
Right? So now it's a little bit more normal, right? It's give and take a little bit. It's understanding your client through your lender, understanding the financials, so you can also, if you're helping the seller or the buyer, how can we make it work? How can we not reduce? How can we make them qualify, you know? So just finding the solutions that I think will give everybody value, and you as a realtor will give value to your client. Go ahead.
What do you think of HELOCs when, like a mom and dad want to help a son or daughter to buy their first time home? Do you recommend them?
You cannot get a loan
You
to
can.
get a loan,
Yeah.
right? So you cannot get a loan to pay for somebody's down payment to buy a loan. If it's a gift, are you talking about a gift?
Yeah. I have a client who wants to get a HELOC for her son, and I said, oh, I can't give you advice on that.
Doesn't make
Good
sense.
question. Who do you use for
I mean,
your
if they're getting a
loans?
HELOC, they're getting a HELOC on their house, right? So the parents are getting a HELOC on their house, they're getting a
Right.
home equity loan
Right.
on their house. So, I mean,
I think you can only use those for home repairs now. They changed
I
it.
don't know if they
So-
check, right? How are you gonna use this money for? It's probably for repairs, not to give your daughter on some money to buy their house. That's not the usage for it.
That's a
But
good
let's say they have money in their account season for 1 month. I don't know where it came from, but it's in there for 1 month and it's a gift. That's fine. Let's put it that way. I just need 1 month bank statement and I can use a gift for the client's down payment.
So if she gets the HELOC for 80,000, right?
If you don't even want to bring that up.
I don't wanna bring, I don't wanna
You
know
don't want
about
to bring
the
that up,
HELOC.
just say that, just wherever she's, that person
So
does.
I need from the parents 1 month bank statement. I wanna see 80,000, I don't wanna see 80,000 going in. I wanna see 80,000 seasoned in the account for 1 month.
Okay.
And they can give whatever gift they wanna give.
Got it.
A lot of people are borrowing, I mean, quite a few people, their parents take it out of their 401K, you know, because they're, you know, over 60 years of age, and they'll, you know, give that as a gift,
Right.
so they can go ahead and buy a house.
Basically, though, those parents could refinance and pull that money out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Which would probably be easier than,
Better
But
idea.
HELOC.
yeah, than.
Do they have a
if-
loan on their house?
Which house? She's got several properties.
Okay, so from whatever house
Maybe we
you
can
wanna
just-
do, they can cash out.
You gotta give funds. You gotta give funds.
So since it's so like, you know, iffy.
It's not iffy.
I
It's
told her
just-
to go to her loan officer.
Right.
The first question was,
No,
who
go to
do
her.
that was my first question. Who do you use for your loan products? And then she was like, well, I don't know if I want to use that person, and gave me a story, and I says, let me know and I can hook you up
Then
with
send
somebody
them my
else.
way, because at the end, it's like, also I think the beauty about lending is finding a solution to the person's goal, right? So they have a goal. The goal is to give their kids money to buy a house, okay?
Right.
That's the goal. How do we get there? And I think that's the beauty of being a lender is, you know, that how do you make that happen? How do you come up with a solution for it? Maybe HELOC is not the only solution. They probably have, you know, they can do a cash out, pull out equity from their house. I do not know if they have a loan on their house or not, but there's different things they can do.
I mean, technically, they could sell one of their properties below market to them too. If she was willing, if she
If they
got
wanna
multiple
sell it.
properties. If she wants to sell them, she could do that below. She could probably do that below market and they could qualify for that $78,000 one if it was low enough, since, I mean, the seller gets to set the price, so. I mean, there's all sorts of scenarios,
Yeah.
if you just kind of have to look at the whole
The
picture.
whole picture.
So, thank you.
What's IPC limit? IPC
Good
stand
question.
for?
Interest, parties, contributions.
Oh, interested
Say
parties
it again.
contributions? Okay.
Interested parties, contributions. So whoever is contributing towards this purchase.
They
Can
can,
be a
realtor
seller.
can contribute to that too.
But yeah, I had several deals where the listing agent or the buying agent were okay with helping the client with their closing costs, and you can give whatever you want from your commission towards your client to help on closing costs. It can come from the realtors too.
What if you're buying as a realtor, a property for you?
Well, you cannot represent yourself, right? So if you have the realtor who's representing you,
Split the commission?
right, can give you, and it can be an addendum. Realtor, do to give, let's say, $3,000 from his commission to the buyer for the purchase of this house. And that is a possibility 100%.
That's another thing that didn't happen 10 years ago.
It's legal, it's okay, it's written in the addendum.
It's ethical for a real estate agent to offer their client like a $1,000 bonus for buying the house?
Not a bonus, you give them in closing costs, for closing costs.
Yeah.
So the way you type it in the
She'll teach you how to
addendum,
word it.
yeah, the way you would type it is 1,000 to whatever amount, right? To go to buyers, recurring and non-recurring closing costs from my commission. And you can have even escrow draft, escrow instructions on that.
And that's ethical?
It's legal, of course.
Let's pretend we didn't have this conversation.
Let's not
We're
get
on
crazy.
Zoom, being recorded, but okay.
What I don't like about
No,
this.
but it is.
But you gotta be careful that that doesn't also mess with the E&O, because right, don't we get a certain percentage of
Yeah.
commission from this office?
That's my mom, maybe.
So that's another story, but that's in the office, right? To see how much they would allow you or how much.
Because I know you can't go below 2 unless you get permission to do under 2. If you
That I
want.
wouldn't know, you have to talk to the office, but what I do know is, let's say in a conventional, it can, whatever, from whoever, the seller, realtor, it can go up to 3%, let's say.
Okay.
Now, if the office has a minimum amount that you're allowed to give, then that's a different story.
So I'm guessing if you were getting 2.5%, if you wanted to take a 0.5% off that 2.5%, you could do that.
You could, yeah.
And then everything's kind of kosher.
And then let's say you don't want to reduce the price of the house, and you have a 2.5% commission. Maybe like you're saying, you can give that 0.5% to your client for their closing costs.
Does someone need to know about that?
Well, it's an addendum, so the seller has to
No one
sign
can know
it.
about that.
They will have to sign the addendum.
I don't know about that.
Does the seller and buyer have to sign it on?
They have to sign on it. They'll know about it.
They'll know about it.
It's better that the seller knows about it, because once again, it's always about when in doubt,
I was just-
disclose.
yeah.
And it's always about like showing that you're caring for the
Yeah.
client and making it happen.
Yeah,
that
you're
not just
helping
about the
both
money.
sides,
Right.
basically, really, when it comes down to it.
Which is, I think, the goal right now is how can you bring value, because you're also getting referral business, right? So the clients you help, the clients you bring value to, you help them get into a house, they're gonna have such a great experience with you, they're gonna refer you to other people. So sometimes there's a lot of value, not just in the commission, but on the way you treat your clients and the way you can help for them to refer you to other people. And I think that's very important, we have to think about it always. How are they gonna remember us by? What's the difference between you and me and another realtor? And sometimes it comes to little things like that.
But that comes with experience too, so.
For example, I had a client, she was short $1,000, we were giving her lender credit. We were giving her seller credit, she was short $1,000. The realtor was, I pitch in, I'll give you $1,000, then we drafted and we closed it. Because it's a shame, we don't want to close because of $1,000,
Right.
right?
Right.
Right.
Or even $500. I'll have people call me, hey, we're canceling because of this, and I'm like, are you crazy? Like, you're giving out $10,000 commission for $1,000.
Right.
Yeah, we have to give and take. But I think bringing that value and getting that referral business, I think that's the greatest thing as a realtor, because that's how you build your pipeline.
It really kind of looks good to clients too when you're willing to come out of pocket. You know what I mean? Because it kind of shows you're going the extra mile for them.
Yeah, which you
They will
are.
always
Not
remember
everyone would do that at the end of the day, because
They
they're
remember
commission,
that.
so
I've done that a few times
Yeah.
and they get all happy, like, oh.
they appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, what she's saying is remarkable, because once you get a buyer to allow you to write that offer with that seller, and once you get it accepted, you're gonna be able to use that as a tool for any other buyer you meet and say, we're just gonna go and hit the different sellers until we get one approved. And that's what it's gonna come down to.
I think too, we have to remember too, is that we bring a human touch, because we got a lot of competition
Right.
from corporations that don't bring the human touch.
Right.
So that is a benefit. People still like that human interaction. Even if it's minimally, they still want to know there's somebody they can go to with their concerns. Right, Kenny?
Normal people do.
Yeah.
I just had one that
No,
did.
I don't. Are you done? I want to ask when they're done.
No, yeah.
Are you done with Carol? I want to talk about land a little bit. I'm getting a lot of calls.
Does anybody have any other questions for
Questions
me?
with her first?
I just want to make a comment. I want to make a comment that agents that understand the financial aspect of the transaction have a huge advantage over people that don't. I had an escrow going some years back And the buyer, I was representing the seller, and the buyer was putting down 50%. And she goes, we're gonna have to cancel the deal. And I said, why? She goes, I can't get a loan through. I don't know who to call. I said, what? You can't, you're putting 50% down and you think you have to cancel this transaction. She literally sent me a cancellation. I said, that's not gonna happen. I remember Hadia took it over from that point and nailed 50% down, my gosh.
That was a very good,
I mean, that's a gross example, but the more options we have in our toolbox, the better off we're going to be.
Just to give you an example and then finish there, thank you. I had a client last week, one of the realtors sent her to me, and the other lender had told her, oh, I do not qualify because I haven't been 2 years into my job. I'm like, okay, send me your information, let's go through it. Maybe not in that job she's been 2 years, but she has 2-year work history, no gaps. She qualifies, no problem. So understanding or working with somebody who understands the guidelines, working with somebody who you know that they have done their inside out on that client, making sure they qualify, there's no problem, documents are there. It's so important.
Can I ask one more question before we go on? Would you say there's a lot of people here that are renting that don't even know that they can buy and that their mortgage payment, their rent payment will probably be very close? If they have the funds or the gifts, you know, from family?
I want to say yes and no, because a lot of people are living with their parents. A lot of people I talk to, they're not really paying full rent. They're renting on a room or things like that. I do have some clients who their rent is a little bit lower than their mortgage, but I mean, still there's a lot of benefits to buying over renting any day. And most people do have for their down payment saved. So they just haven't made that extra step into trying because of the media, how scary everything sounds.
Yeah.
And because they have not been educated, everything is, word of mouth. So word of mouth, it's not really understandable and they cannot really grasp how that works. And I realize that when they end up talking to me or the realtor, they feel a lot more comfortable because they think talking to, a real estate agent or lender is this whole scary thing and they're gonna get, not be able to buy a house and not afford it. And they realize they can't.
Or be judged.
Or be judged, which is
Or
not.
be judged.
Right.
So, because I think right now, because we are moving slowly into the buyer's market quickly, I'm sure everybody knows, we kind of now need to go after, I think, a lot of renters in order to tap into them, because they probably haven't really been tapped in the last market, because everybody was thinking so much about listings and everything was just so kind of frenetic.
And a lot of people are still working from home, so they're still looking to move into a bigger space since the pandemic. A lot of, I have friends who work in Apple, they're still working from home, they haven't opened their offices, or Amazon, or, big corporations. So they still want to look for the bigger, living space, have an office in their house. So I think that's a great idea. Reach out to renters.
For what you're doing here, a lot of people don't realize a $50,000 price reduction is the same monthly payment as a $15,000 seller buyout.
and around the nose. That's the
So
whole thing.
people are trying to go like, oh, I want to get, houses are going down. I want a $50,000 less price reduction. You got to show them, look, bro, that's only going to save you $100 where I can buy down your rate. Let's get them to buy down the rate. They don't want to drop it down 50 grand. So you have to work the numbers.
100%. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if this continues what we're just seeing today, the prices will drop January 23. I get it right now.
Natural.
And it's gonna be a lot of money. It's not gonna be a small amount. If they have to move. Some people don't have to move, but if they have to move, they're gonna be better to do it today. Okay, let's talk about land real quick. I know you got food and stuff out there. Anybody do land in here? Anybody try to sell a piece of land?
Every now and then.
Land comes with a lot of different things. I have done land, I've literally done thousands of title insurance policies on land here in Antelope Valley. You name it, I've done it. From builders to a $15,000 lot in the middle, landlocked land. I put something together here because land is the first thing that I've talked to several agents here in the last month. It's starting to go like this. It's diving. And that's usually the first thing that happens because they don't know what to do with it. And I came out with this because back in the day, 20 years ago, everybody carried back on a note. Everybody did. I mean, like 90%. You couldn't even get a cash deal. So here, I gave you a scenario. I took 100,000 because I took basically a buildable lot. Another issue I'm getting right now, people in LA think you can go buy a landlocked piece of 20 acres for 15,000, put a trailer on it, and start living in it. Absolutely impossible today. The county will come down, but now, especially with the, I'm not sponsoring this, but because of the drug issue that in East Lancaster has made national news, the cops are out there, and I have several friends, they're patrolling looking for those places, okay? So if somebody wants to buy and move a trailer out there on Thanksgiving Day, because nobody's around, they will catch it, because they're droning this area. They fly drones every day in this valley, looking at things, how things have changed. And just normal people who try to build a hay barn without a permit, they're gonna nail them too. Anyway, I put 100,000 here because those are, usually you can find a lot of buildable lots in that price range if you want to buy, Antelope Acres or something like that. And, so a seller comes in, 30% down, first trustee, $70,000, amortized over 6%, which they're not going to get, if they got cash 100,000 and put it in the bank, they're not even going to get 2%. So this is to show them what the benefit is carrying back the paper. Now, the amortization is over 30 years, just like a mortgage, but it's the buyer pays it off in 5 years. And that's negotiable. They can make it 8 years if they want, whatever. And their payments, the seller makes $450 a month income regarding the property. I put tax service, because some people sell land and they don't get paid for this tax service. It's very advisable, because what the tax service does, and you do this through escrow, is that the tax service notifies the beneficiary, the one who's getting the money, that they haven't paid the taxes. So you don't want this to go by 4 years and find out that your property is going to tax sale, okay? Because you'll have a right to have the buyer, the new owner, pay for the taxes, or you can foreclose on it. We can talk more about that thing. So anything to do to protect the seller, I have that kind of information. I threw this in here because I get this call all the time about land. There's no way we can throw something up, slap it on a piece of property and make it work. There's so many regulations today that have come through. One was water wells. And I can do a land class and go into this more in detail. But today, example, on the corner of 30th Street West and Avenue N, those 3 mansions that are out there, they put, if you notice, that's the standard today. 2 10,000-gallon water tanks. Anywhere in LA County, Kern County I think only requires 1 10,000, but 2 in LA County, anywhere, it's required, the fire department requires 2 10,000-gallon tanks. So to get that thing drilled, the 2 tanks, wired up to the house, it's gonna run about 50 grand. Okay, so when you're buying a piece of land, you're thinking about drilling a well, you gotta think about, why don't I just go buy a $75,000, $80,000 piece of property that has the water, has the power, and has a road. And that's why I'm trying to show here, because there's hundreds of them, not thousands of them that are available. You got Lake LA, you've got Little Rock, you got Palmdale Foothills, all those areas have water systems already in place.
What if somebody comes to you, because you're like the king of land, and so a realtor comes to you and says, I have a client there like really hell-bent on getting this land that's landlocked, which I always say I don't think it's a good thing to buy, but what would you say to the realtor to say to their client?
The buyer's agent?
Yeah, what would you say?
Buyer's agent, I tell them right now, if it's landlocked, and 60-70% of all the land in this valley, vacant land, and especially in the outskirts, is owned by the Asian market, which means that probably the owners are overseas. So to try to get them to get a deed, an easement deed from parcel B or C to A, because that's A's on the road, is virtually almost impossible. So I do this all the time to buyers. I'm not trying to take away a deal, but I just talked to somebody the other day about something regarding similar to what you just said, and I'm pushing everybody to the remainder parcels that have water, have power. Now that's another thing. I haven't gotten into. Okay, so I haven't gotten into power regarding cleaner. You know why? They stopped it. Edison will no longer give you a quote over the phone. They'll only give you a hypothetical. You have to meet with one of their planners out to the piece of property, and it's going to run you somewhere between $15,000 and $50,000 to run power.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, now here's the thing. everybody wants a piece of land, they want to do something with it. And so, I mean, that's the whole thing. And if you started today on a piece of land on Antelope Acres or White Fence Farms or whatever, if you have your architect to build, it's still gonna be probably a year and a half before you actually move into that house.
What is there like a ballpark figure that you could throw out to them so they have an idea? Because people like numbers.
I mean,
Like, so if they were to buy a raw piece of land, let's say,
Build a house.
let's say it's not landlocked, let's say it's a raw piece of land that doesn't have
Great
electricity,
question.
doesn't have water.
Great question. Okay, so you got a piece of land. We went out there and Janice sold me a piece of land over at White Fence Farms. I paid $125,000, we'll say, for the lot. Okay? Right there and then, before I can even go get a construction, now I'm not talking about cash people, a construction loan, I'm gonna have all the utilities in place, 100% in place, and then the lender's will give me a construction loan after he meets the builder, and then he gives what's called vouchers. To build a house today on that piece of land, not counting after the land's all been improved, it's gonna run you between $225 and $250 a square foot minimum to build that new home. And the reason is California, again, did a favor to everybody. They mandate, no matter where it's located, everybody has to have solar, and everybody has to have sprinklers, and they all have to have these gas windows up here. Now, it's 10 to 15% more to build a house from the foundation. Not talking about the land now, just foundation in the Antelope Valley versus downtown Beverly Hills.
15 to 20%.
Because
Say that again?
it costs 10 to 15% more to build a frame up from the foundation, not counting the land, forget about the land, more here than it is in Beverly Hills. Why? We have snow load. They have to put wind loads. And when they do that, they have to move the trusses closer together like this. Now they're all 2x6s, and now they gotta pour the foundation 4 feet to handle that weight from the wood. They don't have to do that in Beverly Hills. They can go with single pane windows. By the way, a nail, this is another misconception. A nail or a 2x4 is the same price in Costco down in Culver City as it is in Palmdale, California. The lumber's the same.
So what you're telling us, it's better to have Beverly Hills clients.
Nobody does that.
We're headed down the.
Anyway, to build a house up here, yeah, so basically to get it prepped and everything like that, you're looking, if you got a piece with, you had to drill a well and everything, you're talking, we're gonna put $100,000, 75 to 100,000 into it before you even.
And then septic.
Yeah, second,
Septic.
I put 25, yeah, so 25 grand for septic.
Did you say 60% of the people that own vacant property out here is overseas?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, in fact, I wear another hat, the groundwater now, by the way, just to let you know this, the groundwater in the Antelope Valley, immediate Antelope Valley, up to Don Road in Kern County, county line, there's no more riparian rights. The water is controlled by the state of California. Okay, and they have a water master, but that's a whole different, I don't want to get into that right now. I was very involved with that for 16 years, and you guys want me to put a class on that, I'm happy to do that and go through the whole details and show you what's going on there. So you have to get permission to drill a well.
Because there's not a water master.
It's controlled by
It's a water master, either one of those is a water master.
Controlled by the state, Frank, did you say?
Pardon me?
Controlled by the state?
Yeah,
No riparian rights
so the
controlled by
judge,
the
yeah,
state?
so went to Superior Court, Komar was the judge, presiding judge, and then all the people that got sued up here, including the 60-some thousand people that don't have water rights that are overseas, but they still can drill a well by going through the procedure with the water master. We've made that deal worked out. And what they do is that they put a meter on their well, and they use 1 or 2 acre feet of water, that's the term they use. It's $600 an acre foot roughly, $550 to $600 an acre foot. They write a check, after they read the meter, send it to the water master. Just let's say you use 2 acre feet, $1,000 to $1,200. They take that check, the water master, and give it to AVAC, and AVAC takes the water out of the aqueduct and puts it back in the ground. The groundwater here used to be in the 20s and 30s. It used to percolate out of the ground like oil. And what happens over the last 60, 70, 80 years, the farmers, this area was the largest alfalfa growing area in the world. They had over 200,000 acres of alfalfa. And the reason why Edwards came out here one day when Chuck Yeager, the pilot you see in the movies, he was flying an experimental flight, and he told them, the government, to buy Edwards, the land where it's at now, because all it is farmland. You know, so up until so what they did was they got Edwards, and what did they do? They built Plan 42 to build all the bombers and stealth fighters and secret stuff and all that stuff, and that's how people came out here. So, you know, we're still, you know, we're a heavy bedroom community. Always going to be a great opportunity for a first-time home buyer, and they're going to commute or work out of their houses because of, you know, the new way things have changed. Any more questions on land? This is a simple formula. I can talk with you, help you. Carol did a great job on this. I'm going to tell you right now, I called 10 lenders in the last 3 weeks to get information. I already know we sat down, talked to it several times, go over these different things. Nobody knows what she just said. They know that they can add things, but they don't know how to go further into it and then the different details. And that's the thing that's very important, what she explained, because that's what we're going to need. The lenders have to
Be more involved.
yes, they're the component today. You know, they got, I mean, creative financing is what they got to do, and they got to be able to, in their brain, know 10, 20, 30, 40 different programs to make it work. And of course, you have one sitting over here that can do it. So,
Does escrow draft this note?
yes, I can. The question was, can the escrow draft that note? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And I'm happy to help you with this on different levels about. There's no reason why a seller cannot sell a piece of property if he carries back the note. I don't care if it's $15,000. I don't care if it's $20,000. I don't care if it's $500,000. You just do the formula of 30%. What we used to use back years ago was 33rd and a third. So it's like 1/3. The buyer puts down 1/3, seller carries back 2/3, but I didn't want to get complicated.
That can also, I mean, I know you're talking about land, but that can actually, because I had to do that to make it just a regular transaction work when I was a listing agent.
Yeah.
Because I was dealing with a really bad agent, and I won't say which office they're with. It's a KW office, not up here. But it was supposed to be a cash offer, and this one I was new. So agents, when you get a cash offer, make sure they already have the cash. Don't wait. If it's something they're getting from escrow, they don't have the cash. It's not a cash offer totally yet.
I did a deal, helped an agent down in the valley. It was $1 million sale. Cat was all the guy owned a free and clear. Wanted to sell the house. He wanted to sell it and wanted to move on. He wanted to build a house in Aspen, Colorado. And the agent, very professional, said, "You know what? We have all kinds of barriers now because now you got jumbo rates and all these different things." So he asked me for a question, and this is where I start off with Carol. So I said, "How about?" I said, "I know how to sell a house. I can sell a house in 3 days." And he goes, "How?" I go, 25% down. This is not 80-10-10. You got to 25% down. $250,000 down. The seller carries the note for $750, amortized over 30 years. And a balloon in 8 years, and at 4%. Yeah, can you imagine that jumbo loan at 4%, okay? And the agent looked at me and goes, "Why would he do that?" And I said, "Well, he also is going to be entitled to 1 to 2 points because he's going to become the bank, basically." So we talked about it, and it goes even further than that. The amount of buyers I was thinking about, or we're all thinking about people who have a job, right? I mean, a W-2 job. I was thinking about all the millionaire plumbers, electricians, and automobile mechanics that don't pay any taxes. Yeah. That cannot get a loan because they need stated income, right? Well, guess what? That's what ended up happening. They had 4 offers within 24 to 48 hours. And they all put down the $250,000 cash. FICO scores all over 700, every one of them, because he checked it, that was one of the requirements, and they sold the property. They exactly sold the property. And that person got $250,000. Oh, that was the thing, if I tell you, the roses on the cake, the seller is getting $3,450 a month income on that. Now, let me ask you another question. If he'd have sold it for cash for $1 million, he would have a tax problem, number one. Okay, number one. Number two, I don't care who you are, you're not getting more than 2% on that return on your money.
Right.
So you as agents and working with lenders, because there's other programs she has too, that you can work like 80-10-10, things like that. They're out there. It's just that you gotta be creative. That's all there is to it. And you're 100% right. Cash people. And by the way, nationwide, it came out of Wall Street, 20% of the homeowners in the United States own their homes free and clear. 20%.
So going back to the carryback thing, that was like, that agent emailed me on a Friday, didn't even call. So basically, I had to come up with the idea of having my sellers finance $17,000. So the escrow office actually here on track helped me work out. Basically, there was interest charged. And I think they had 2 years, and I think the way it was written, if the new buyer didn't pay it back within that period, the entire house reverted back to my sellers,
Yeah, you
which
can
I love.
write the
I love
terms
that
of the
idea.
note. So it becomes a note, and you can create whatever terms you want. Either they default on the property, what happens at that point, you have to pay it back, does the seller get the property back? You can do all the terms of that note, because you're making a loan at the end of the day. And the seller becomes like a harmony lender in a way.
Yeah.
They're carrying back that extra money.
Yeah. It's just another way sometimes, it's once again being creative.
And by the
There's a
way,
lot of cash properties up here, guys, especially investors, out-of-state property owners that rent here and stuff, things like that. I'm gonna leave you one more thing.
Yeah.
It's very, very important that happened yesterday. In fact, me and Thomas were talking about it, and I got involved a little bit. They just, 2 days ago, or wait, end of July, the county of LA just extended no evictions until the end of the year.
This is gonna be perpetual with
To
them.
the end of August of next year.
Well, that's at the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Okay, they're 2 different animals.
yeah.
The 2 different animals.
That's city,
And
not
his seller his seller wanted to sell the property and move on, his investment out of state or whatever. And the seller offered the tenant $17,000 and he wouldn't take it.
This is only COVID related though, right?
What, well, no.
The
Oh,
tenant
yeah.
has to
Well,
have.
no, it's not. It's, they extended it, you could be disabled.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
No, I gave 2 attorneys, they called him, they said
Doesn't matter.
they're not until after the year.
That's for the
In other
city.
words, they won't even ensure their vote comes in.
I just bringing this up to you, I mean, I mean.
I'm going through that right now.
Okay, so,
Crazy.
I'm selling my rental.
and, oh, the city of LA has their own thing till 2025. Okay, something.
Lord.
Yeah, 2025. County has something, but our cities here, the 2 cities, I don't think they have one. So if the property's in the city, I don't know, unless the city adopted with the county board of supervisors, I don't know that. That part I don't know, but it's
So
basically.
for LA County, is that because of COVID or just because they're?
Well, they're
It
using all
started out
kinds.
COVID. It's an excuse.
It's
You know what, that word will never go away.
You're right.
Perpetual?
Either polio will never go away, bronchitis,
Crazy.
nasal congestion.
It's a perpetual moratorium.
Wait, I got you guys some Krispy Kreme donuts, and you know what the lady told me when I cashed out? This is funny. This is funny. She goes, there's peanuts that touch those donuts. Are you going to throw? I said, I'm definitely gonna go to the peanuts. I said, I'll leave it anyway. I mean, this is crazy.
I mean, you can, but you have to pay.
I think people need to be aware too, when you take on a listing that has a tenant that doesn't want to leave,
I know there's a lot of.
there's an attorney out here that likes to represent those people,
Take it.
and it's well known. I mean, I could tell you what the attorney's name is, but I don't.
Carol,
Why?
hey,
Well,
Carol,
I'll write it down somewhere so you can
Carol,
see it.
the reason why we did this for you people, and some of the people that are on Zoom, is that you have 2 people you can go to get information to make your transactions a lot smoother than.
We're always here. We're in
Oh,
our
we're here.
office. You can call us. I think all of you have our cell phone numbers. If you don't, I'll be surprised. Because I think I get calls from all of them.
Go ahead and eat.
Call us.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Go ahead and
Thank
eat.
you for joining.
Thanks, Frank. You're welcome.
Let us know if you have questions, yeah?
Definitely for real estate.
I'm gonna give you
I think that's so many.
I know, you know what, I'm gonna put them in our plastic thing.
Okay. I am hungry. I thought I was nervous, it's so hot, I'm just sweating.
Oh, you need some?
There's no way you could be nervous.
Well, here,
Because it's
this
so
is,
hot.
this is
I'm
a
like,
little bit
I'm
outdated.
small.
When they said the median price, this was 2020. When I said the median price, they hope it was 360. Here, this is her, yeah.
Yeah, did you say the moratorium in LA County has been extended?
Yeah.
Or the one in LA City?
No,
LA City
County,
is
just did it 3 days ago.
to when? To the end of the year. Yeah.
Two class
Yeah, no, I already have that going on with my rental up there. And in Lancaster, got 2 on a lot. I'm in escrow, an investor bought it anyway, even though the front tenant will not move out.
Well, they're waiting, I know some agents have done this, offering $5,000 and they'll take it.
Yeah, they probably
They're
will.
doing enough money for first and last, for somewhere else.
The investor is not gonna live in it, so they're okay with them staying, which is good for me. I'm not offering them crap.
Oh,
But they did get an attorney. My tenant's got an attorney.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as I put a lockbox in the house, I got a notification from their attorney.
So,
And I've given them everything they've ever asked for.
Washington and LA, they're all over the place. I know.
All of the socialist hubs of America.
Oh, it's worse than, my son was telling me, he said, this is horrible, that's why I couldn't wait to get out of London. He said, Dad, it's ridiculous. He goes, I couldn't, he said, I'm paying $3,000 a month plus for a, 800 square foot, 1 bedroom, they call them, pads or flats, whatever. But he said, that wasn't the worst part. He goes, I wanted to buy a car. I was there for 3.5, 4 years, I wanted to buy a car. When I got there, they said, oh, no, you can't have it here on our property. You go to that parking lot right across the street, you can buy, rent a space there for a year lease, it's $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month
To park your car.
park your car.
Where is that?
It's London.
Oh, in London. Yeah, London
Oh, he
is
says
horrible. man.
horrible.
London's just like New York.
Yeah, it says horrible. Well, that's what's happening, they're all coming over here,
I was
and
waiting for.
they become elected officials, and they change our whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. You're Janet, right?
I am.
Did you get a hold of the Toastmaster guys?
Not yet, but I'm going to though.
Yeah, Jim Kearney.
Oh,
How are you?
Jim Kearney.
So, when are you gonna give us the class for plan? I'm very,
Is
very
in
active
both
with that.
clubs.
I know you.
Jim's in
I know you. Let's.
oh my God, I actually joined one.
Why
Monday
don't you,
was good.
I mean,
I
set
do
it
have
up.
other things I
And
do,
you
so
all
Monday
land
evening and
people,
Thursday
I'm
they're
kind
tied
of
up
doing it, we can
for something else.
take the
In
training
between.
room,
There's a
take
really,
4 or 5 of
really
you, and
good
go in there.
club that was started
Do
by
whatever you
Bruce
want.
B. Hailstone that meets on Friday morning.
You do it
at
next
7
summer.
a.m. It's pretty early.
No, I have a list in the
It's a
list.
correct club.
I
It's
have
one of
this
the best
list
clubs.
and they run
Is it
it
really?
out.
It
Okay.
really is.
I was closing
And
the
Bruce,
deals.
he set the bar very high for that club.
Yes, right.
50
And
Okay.
there's a woman that goes to the club, I can't remember her name.
Yeah,
She
90
is an
they run.
accredited speaker,
50
which
Xpress
it
for
takes a while to
4
get accredited.
night cash.
You have to have at least
So then somebody called
25
and said, no,
engaged.
I want to put it on the market 40 acres
So she's
Wow.
an accredited
That's my
speaker
favorite.
and she's a.
for 1.5 million and 1 million,
Toastmaster.
1.1.
So anyway, she attends that
I said,
club,
no,
and
I
I
just
can't think of her name right at the moment, but
50 for
It
4 nights.
meets-
They know that's what I want.
what does it mean?
No,
I only went to it one time.
Crazy.
which one do you go to now? Do you go to one?
I don't go to any
Where's
of
my
them.
offer? I'm
Right
like,
now.
we reduce the price to
I had
9.90.
dropped out. I was just taking,
And he said, call me and say, you know what, the market is going up, the.
I'm getting older, I get a lot tiring, I want to spend more time
So I was
with my
thinking now that it
grandkids.
says. What
It's
do you
going,
say?
Marcus.
And I got a lot going on real estate wise, not.
I have, like, you know, I work with
I'm in
Angel
sales,
over
but
there
my own
at,
stuff.
Your own stuff, right? Yeah, I hear you on that, but yeah, I've always wanted to
Builds custom homes.
do it, and
And
I
he was
think
telling me
I'm
that
going to. I think it's just,
two of his clients pulled
people
out,
are, it's
the buyers,
amazing to
because
me,
they see
people
the
are
land.
really into it. I mean, they
So
are
next week,
serious
I
about
can
it,
do
so.
it, I can do
I think it's a good
it,
thing.
I was hitting for 10 years.
Wednesday, next
For
week.
you.
Next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
That's great. Yeah, I'm looking
Okay.
forward to it.
So let me know,
The
though.
one on Friday
Yeah, let
morning
me know.
sounds very
And
interesting.
we'll reserve the training.
I
People
would
probably
say-
way more,
Yeah,
yes, the meeting, that's okay. I'm
Well, that's
open.
what you want. You want to grow. You know who else was in there? Another realtor. What's his name? Vaughn? No. What is his name? Starts with a V. He's a very charismatic guy. His wife is involved in the Women's Association of Realtors.
Where's your work?
Can't think of that either. I don't know, I've never done a deal with him, but let me see what I have. It starts with V. Sean LeBeau.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's LeBeau, not.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean LeBeau is in that Friday morning club, or he was.
Oh, okay.
And he's a good speaker. But Bruce B. Ailson is the man. There's a lot of good talent in this valley, actually. There's like 15 Toastmaster clubs.
I think that's awesome. I'm looking
Or
forward to it.
there were, I don't know if there still
Yeah.
are.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for. But yeah, check out that Friday morning
I'll
club.
do
And
that.
Leslie can give you information about it. So can Jim.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You got it.
La cubana es la novia del hijo de Sam.
¿De qué?
Mucha gente de viejos como Frank, tiene más de 30 años. Entonces, el Mike este también es viejo y el joven George, de los lentes también viejo. Muy calvo. Y hay quien tiene, entonces tiene negocio pero como son viejos. No todas las oídos que hagan.
No, I'm not having a I'm only eating pizza that has veggies on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good.
See, I can't eat that because there's no veggies.
El Scott. El Scott. Tiene mucho conocimiento porque es una planta muy grande. Un programa que recibe y no lo pone. Y te puedes estar todos los días estudiando. Quería ser modelo, y mira cómo es. Qué padre. Pero es una decepción amorosa, ¿no?
I called the guy, I said, hey, mister, I think
No nos dieron papeles a nosotros.
Listen, you guys, start writing your offers that way.
Definitely. It was great class. Great.
I mean, they're gonna get the money. They're gonna get the money, I'm telling you right now.
You know, ahí es pura a property in escrow with Jessica Dixon. She called me, scheduled an appointment to show, and then I'm not even asking the seller, I just called her, you know what? Seller motivated, they're willing to pay $5,000 for closing costs. Yeah, yeah. All right, thank you. Boom.
Yeah, they're taking, yeah.
Next day offer, not a full price, but $7,300 for closing costs. So we come back and say, no, full price, $5,000, that's what I told you. And they say, okay, we take it. Now it's the next.
You could've got more.
So I went over there with all my listings last night and I told myself, I said, hey, you know what? Let's give it some money for closing costs. Just put it right there.
You don't have multiple
Two
offers?
showings today.
Uh-huh.
And one at 11, one at 5, at 6 o'clock today. And now wrapping the
If I was
price.
a buyer's agent, there's no way, I'd be writing every contract. If they can get, I'd ask for $15,000. By down the rate, you get that rate down in the fours, you're gonna have a herd of people who wanna buy it.
But how would you write it in the contract?
You write in there. So to pay 3%, 6% of closing.
I think it's in the second page, or first page.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's in the. You can write it in there. But,
Great.
yeah, closing costs and buy down the interest rate.
Just write it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, normally that's how I do it.
Let me ask you this. Don't you write in there how much you're gonna get paid?
What was that?
Don't you write in there how much commission you want? It doesn't say in there 6%. You have to write the percentages in there.
That's for the, I normally represent the buyers.
Right. But the seller, right. But I've seen it, buyer's agents back 4 years ago. They would say they're asking 5%. The buyer was asking for 3%.
Sorry.
I just came across one agent down below that was giving 1.5.
Right. Second page, right there, seller, ready, buyer.
Okay, so yes, that's how I normally just check that box. I thought you had to do like an additional terms. Oh, okay.
Second page, seller, ready,
You know,
buyer.
they give you those extra addendum lines in there. You can write anything you want. You know, seller counters, that's what they do. They put them in those lines. Carol's really sharp. We spent a lot of time together.
She's very knowledgeable.
Yeah,
¿Qué haces con eso? Car wash, oh, car wash.
really sharp. I call some of these people, and it's like I was like wasting, kind of wasting their time. And I said, you know, when I sat down.
When she showed those rates, I was like, whoa.
Well, I said, I went down there, I said, I can help get you business when you're working with me on this thing. Because I don't get any title orders. Until I sell something, I don't get any title work. My numbers have dropped off a lot. So,
Yes, because most of mine have been at 5, interest rate 5%.
well, the key is they buy them down. They buy the rates